Shaka Hislop is joining me as we look back on what was a draw, 1-1 draw between Manchester United and Fulham. Shaka, 10,000 fans back at Old Trafford. Fulham already relegated. This probably was the perfect chance for United to bounce back after what has been two losses in a packed week to Leicester first and then to Liverpool. But they couldn't get it in the end, Shaka. How concerned probably should Ole be, considering the all-important Europa League final is coming up just next week?
In all, Alexis, not at all. I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reads too much into this, just as I don't. Despite what happened before, Manchester United have had second place in the Premier League locked up for quite some time, and their focus, quite rightly and understandably, was on the Europa League and the Europa League final. I think he took this opportunity to get what may very well be his starting lineup. I think the starting 11 in a week's time will probably be this with one change, maybe Rashford coming in for Greenwood. Aside from that, it's just an opportunity to give those players that he intends to start a run out, to get their legs going, to get ready for what's to come in a week. Expect wholesale changes against Wolves on the weekend. So I don't read too much more into the result, other than giving players who will be playing a week's time an opportunity to come out, stretch your legs, keep going. This is the kind of usual schedule and turnaround that players are used to.
But Shaka, with that said, I mean, they played less than a week ago, these kind of players, and, they're going to play again this weekend against Wolves before Europa League. Am I wrong to almost wanted to expect a bit more, especially from this? Like you said, bring back some of that momentum, at least 2 games to go in the Premier League. We know second place is already sealed, or basically sealed, to just want a bit more, to put on more of a show.
Well, I think maybe the fans being back at Old Trafford wants more of a show. It's been so long. It's over a year since fans have been inside of ground. So to have Old Trafford, though only marginally full, not even close to being full, with 10,000 in what is Old Trafford hold now, 65, 80,000. I mean, but at least it's people in there. So maybe that asks for a show. Maybe they feel somewhat rewarded by the goal that Edinson Cavani scored. But other than that, as I say, even as a player, with or without fans, your focus is in the Europa League final. And so maybe you can understand the better first half showing and then just running out of steam a little bit in the second half.
Shaka Hislop being understanding about Manchester United, things I never thought I would see. Well, with that said, Shaka, you're the pro in this one. 2 goals that we saw Joe Bryan for Fulham, and then, of course, that stunner from Edinson Cavani. VAR had a look at both of them. I think there was more questioning about Cavani's goal and whether, Bruno's touch or no touch would have affected it and made it offside. What did you think? Did you have any issue there?
I didn't think there was a touch from Bruno Fernandes. So the goal should have been ruled out. The fact of the matter is, I don't think it affected anything either way. And you saw that in the reaction of both sets of players and the managers on the sidelines. If they would have, I'm sure they would have had access to the replay. Ultimately, it was an incredible finish by Cavani. It would have been heartbreaking, not just for Man U fans, but for neutrals to see that ruled out in the manner that it did. If you're Fulham, you're thinking, well, for a team that's already relegated, Fulham played a lot of very good football and were deserving of their equalizer. So, honors shared. I again, nobody's overly disappointed. Both of these know what's happening the end of this season or where they'll be playing next season, most of the point in Fulham's case. So not a whole lot of protest from anybody, anywhere.
Well, let's see if you have a protest about this. Since we have you, let's talk some goalkeeping, shall we? Shaka, David de Gea back starting, in the Premier League for Man United. Obviously, there has been some question marks too around Dean Henderson and whether he's been making a bit more mistakes than you would want for your first choice goalkeeper. What did you make of de Gea today? And I guess, if he helped his stock in this now competition with Dean Henderson.
Well, he did okay. He had that one fumble in in the first half, but recovered well enough. Had a decent save in the second half. Didn't have much of a chance with the goal, I thought. Did as you'd expect him to do. And again, though this is De Gea back playing in the league, I think this is more about De Gea continuing to feature in the Europa League as he had done over the last couple of rounds. And as I mentioned earlier, just giving him an opportunity to play, to feel, to cross that white line and play a full 90 minutes in a competitive situation in anticipation of what's to come next week. Maybe Henderson will play against Wolves on the weekend, but I don't expect him to play in the Europa League final.
And then final thing, as you mentioned, that match against Wolves, the team that definitely has given Manchester United trouble, probably more often than they would have liked to. As you said, since you're not reading too much into this Fulham result, but going into that last match of the Premier League season, just a few days before the Europa League final, what do you think they'll be going into to try and do?
To try and give players who barely seen a minute all season long some time out on the park. I expect wholesale changes throughout from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Maybe some of the players who will be on the bench a few days later will start. But even that, I'll be a little bit surprised about. But as I say, wholesale changes, and in all honesty, I'm not expecting much. I'm reading nothing into whatever that result may be.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.